Ah! Hey everybody, welcome to the ReCoop. I'm Cooper Daniels, and I'm a guy that knows a little about a lot. And today we're continuing with the crypto series, but we're gonna do things a little differently. Yep, I'm gonna talk a little bit about how I approach investing. And then I'm gonna lay out my bull thesis for Algorand, a project that I am very excited about. So let's get into it. First off, I've had a couple of comments being like, hey man, we would like some longer form videos. We'd like to hear more about you and how you approach investing and what your thoughts are. And you know, of course I give that in my videos, but I decided maybe I would do a video where I relax a little bit, where I am not so concerned about the fast pace and the jokes. Maybe some jokes will come up, but I haven't planned any. Now, cut to everybody turning off this video. Just a little bit about myself. I've been investing for decades now, right? I'm old. And I would say that my approach to investing has always been instinct based. I mean, I think everybody's instinct based, right, on some level, but I've been tracking cryptocurrency and blockchain for a while, and I didn't quite understand it for a long time. I was more interested in stocks and precious metals, and I'm still holding stocks and precious metals, but I haven't been talking about it because right now I'm interested. I realize that, wait a second, I'm getting a little bit old here in the way I'm looking at this, the way I'm approaching investing. I'm totally ignoring cryptocurrency and blockchain technology in general. And this could pass me by because it occurred to me, a light bulb went off as I kept on looking, and it was Bitcoin. It started with Bitcoin, and then I kind of evolved and then started to look at Ethereum, just like most people that are entering cryptocurrency do. And a light bulb went off. I was like, wait, this really could disrupt traditional finance. And it is disrupting traditional finance. And ever since, I've watched it literally do that and watch it get mass adopted. And frankly, I think we're still early on. So if you are relatively new to cryptocurrency right now and you're watching my video and you're thinking, man, this has passed me by. It hasn't. It hasn't passed you by. You can enter. And there are some projects that I think are still very early on that are extraordinarily exciting. And Algorand is most definitely one of those, and we're going to get to that. But just so you know, and this will lead perfectly into Algorand, what I've kind of done my entire life, and I'll just tell you what I've been successful at as an investor, and I'll tell you where I've failed as an investor. And I've done both. And where I'm successful is following my gut and doing my research and investing in projects that I believe in and people that I believe in. So, it goes back as far as when I didn't have money and I was living in Jersey City and I had a subscription to the New York Times. Everybody loves the New York Times, right? But this was a long time ago, and I had a subscription to the New York Times because I lived in New York fucking City. And I remember looking at the cover of the New York Times one of those mornings when it was snowy outside, and Google had just gone public. And I was like, oh man, I think it was like $50. It was IPOing at $50. And I was like, oh man, everybody Googles. Like, this thing is insane. So I called anybody. I didn't have any money, you know what I mean? Or I didn't really know how to invest at that point. This was a while ago. And so I called everybody that I knew that had money, and it was like, dude, I was probably talking to my mom and my dad, but still I was like, look, you guys got to invest in Google. Like, this is insane. My point of bringing this up is that obviously the reason why I thought that Google was such a good investment was because I knew that everybody used Google and this was the future. And of course I was right about that. And then when I started to actually have money to allocate to investing, it was things like this. It would be like, oh man, Facebook's $19. I'm going to bet on this weird Zuckerberg guy. You know what I mean? Like, it was when Netflix, they raised the price $1, and I was like, oh man, and it just crashed. It crumbled on raising it $1. I was like, nobody's gonna trip about $1. I mean, they're tripping right now, but everyone's gonna get over $1. Netflix is awesome. Or it was like every time that Apple has crashed, it was like, look, I mean, and I get it. In the last 15 years, no investment in Apple has gone wrong. But I mean, there was a couple of times where it really fell. And I was like, this is so stupid. That's kind of the way I've always approached it, is like, all right, who are the people in charge? Do people actually use these things? And is it going to grow? Like, this is basic stuff. I'm not trying to look at things and find the hype. And time I played with AMC in the beginning and I made a little bit of money. And then I got out right before it fell that first time. And Obviously, if I had stuck it out, I'd have made a lot more money. But you know, I made like 20% on my more than 20%. I bought it at like 10 and I sold it like at 16 or something like that. But that was during the whole Robinhood thing and everything, and it just got weird. And I was like, I don't want to play this game anymore. My point isn't to disparage those games. It's just not what I'm doing, and that's not what you're gonna find on this channel. You're not gonna find hype coins that, you know, like meme coins and stuff like that. That isn't my move. And okay, so on the other side of that is where have I made my mistakes? Because, you know, the last 10 years, I went through all of my successes, but in the last 10 years, you could really feel like a genius, because we've been on a bull tear since, you know, the last crash in, like, you know, 2008. So it's been hard, especially if you were a younger, I'm not that young, but, you know, on the younger side. And obviously the things that we know as this younger generation is tech. So if you've been investing in tech in the last 10, 15 years, it was hard to make a mistake if you just bought and held. It's just hard. Or if you know, were investing in ETFs like SPY and QQQs, which I believe if you're somebody that's looking for like a safe alternative, yeah, just bet on Warren Buffett it up, man. Buy an ETF and let it hold. And by the way, none of this is investment advice. This is literally just the way I approach this shit. So where have I made mistakes? Well, I've made mistakes like this. I've overreacted to current events, overreacted to who the next president's going to be. And if I've learned anything, who the next president is going to be, if it's not the president that you want, or even if you don't even, it's not even about not wanting them, but you feel like you know their politics and they're going to make some drastic change. They don't make drastic changes. No political party makes a drastic change. When Trump was elected, I was worried about net neutrality. I was like, oh man, this guy's going to go after that. And so I trimmed Netflix. Well, that wasn't a smart idea. That was a bad idea. I mean, look, in the end, anything that I've sold, not anything, I've cut losses. We all, you know, you should cut losses, especially in the stock market. Sometimes you got to cut losses. But for the most part, it's not like most of my mistakes were I didn't make enough. I made less profit than I could have. And Netflix is definitely a situation where trimming there was a bad decision. And, you know, and we'll see how this plays out. But then Joe Biden comes in and I start to think, oh, green energy. Well, yeah, I mean, collectively, a lot of people were thinking that, especially to the lead up. It was kind of like a, you know, buy the rumor, sell the news. And so like leading up to Joe Biden being president, green stocks were going through the moon. And then once he's president, they kind of sold off, right? We'll see. But I definitely did make some green energy investments on the idea that Joe Biden was going to get this done. Who knows if that guy can get that done. If you think that Donald Trump being the president is going to be the end of the stock market, or if you think Joe Biden being president is going to be the end of the stock market, or if you think The Rock getting elected is going to be the end of the stock market, like, it never happens. It just doesn't happen. It's not a big switch. So I've made those mistakes thinking that I was smart. And, you know, obviously I've made some technical mistakes because I didn't know. I didn't know, during coronavirus, like I sold off some stocks that I shouldn't have, right? And now in the end, what happened during COVID is that I started to get really freaked out about the money printing, and that led me to cryptocurrency, and that's gonna play out very well for me, I believe. But so I'm not mad about it, but I definitely trimmed some stocks, and yeah, obviously if you paid attention to the stock market over the last year, trimming stocks was not the right move. But, you know, that it adjusted the way I look at the world. And I think a lot of you would agree that the fiat money printing globally and fiat money in general is in danger, right? I mean, that's what we're all thinking, isn't it? Like, look, when it comes to stocks, it usually is wise to, you know, if you do the investor business daily approach, right? You sell at 20% profit and then you cut losses at 8% loss, right? That is the approach to stocks that if you're disciplined with that approach, you're gonna make money and you won't lose your ass, right? Now, obviously there's exceptions. Like if you have high conviction, like I have had with certain companies over the years, it makes no sense to be selling like that. But the point is, with stocks, that approach does work. Now, with cryptocurrency, I don't really think that that's not the approach I'm taking. I cost average in, right? That's just what it is. That's what I do. And I try to time it because it's a game for me at this point. Like, and the one thing about cryptocurrency that I think is different than stocks is that you need to buy because it's so volatile, in the sense that when it starts going down, the entire world, everybody wants it to die, right? So then it just becomes a conversation about how it's gonna die. And the people that have the fucking nuts to buy Bitcoin when it reaches $28,000 are the people that are gonna make a lot of money, because it's not going away. And you have to have that conviction even when it's going down. People love buying it on the way up, but they're scared as shit because it's just, the hysteria gets wild. And if you're on these sites, the bears, just lube themselves up and they're ready to go. My channel is this. If you're wondering what you're getting into right now and you've listened to me ramble on before, you're probably here to hear me talk about Algorand and you've had to listen to all this to get there. And my approach to this channel is to find projects that I believe in, or find projects that are worthy of me investigating to see if I believe in them, and to give information quickly, to bring humor to it, and to usually give you some assessment of what I believe in the end. But it's mainly going to be focused on the project, on the tokenomics, on the potential that I see. That's it. That's all I'm doing here. And so let's talk about Algorand. So why am I so disturbingly convinced that Algorand is the project that I want to put a lot of money towards? Okay, so that's what we're doing here. Full disclosure, I'm invested in Algorand, and I'm going to continue to invest in Algorand because I believe in this thing. My approach works with Algorand because I believe in Silvio Micali. And I look at that guy and it's hard not to believe that this man is going to accomplish what he sets out to do. He's a cryptographer, a Turing Award winner, which is basically the Nobel Prize for computer science, where he co-created zero knowledge proofs, and I believe that Turing Award was for that, and verifiable random functions, something that he uses in Algorand. These are huge breakthroughs for distributed systems. And he decided a few years ago that he wanted to build a blockchain from the ground up. Now, obviously, that's no easy thing to do. In my opinion, it's like, if you're going to bet on any man to do that, like, how could you not? And also, Silvio has been teaching at MIT since 1983, PhD from Berkeley. Look, he's so impressive and he's revered by everybody. Charles Hoskinson speaks of him so glowingly. It seems like if you're a cryptographer, you look up to Silvio Micali, right? And so who better than to build a blockchain up from the ground up? Who better? Why wouldn't you bet on that guy, is my personal opinion. One of the great things about having somebody like Silvio Micali, one of the most revered cryptographers in the world, is that imagine the team around him. He's obviously got an incredible team. The head of cryptography at Algorand is a guy named Chris Pikert. I don't know. I'm imagining it's Chris Pikert. And he's the head of cryptography, and he's one of the world's leading minds in post-quantum cryptography. So you can be assured of the technology behind Algorand. Now, okay, so what's the problem? It's not always the best technology that wins. Everybody likes to use the VHS Betamax example, how VHS beat out the better technology of Betamax. Fine, but so that's a risk. And there's also another thing, and Algorand really emphasizes decentralization. Everything they're doing is either to make sure that they stay decentralized, and everything that they're doing is leading towards more decentralization. So they have a huge focus on decentralization, and that happens to be something that I respect and look at and like, right? So now I'm making a bet by investing in Algorand that decentralization matters. And we're seeing it right now in this rise of DeFi where things are becoming, because layer one of all these blockchains are getting so congested and slow and expensive, that they're moving off on side chains and layer two and all these different more centralized types of things. So people are being like, look, I can get crazy yield if I take part in, DeFi in these different ways, and or cheaper and yada yada. So they're willing to compromise in decentralization. So that is a risk with Algorand, that people don't really need decentralization like, I think, or Algorand thinks. I don't. I think that we're going to end up having problems with all of this centralized behavior, and people are going to come running to Algorand because of its incredible layer one scalability, which we'll talk about in a second. So that's another thing. That's the thing. And then also there's Ethereum 2.0, right? That if they get that right and they do it quick, and Algorand doesn't have the network effects by then, because right now, if you're looking to do all the things that you want to do on Ethereum, Algorand is a fantastic place to turn to. And they are going to continue to build and build and build and build. And especially while Ethereum tries to figure it out. Now, if Ethereum figures it out quickly and is able to implement fast and they just run away with it, then projects like Algorand are going to suffer. But I don't believe that that's going to happen either. I think it's going to take them longer. And I believe that from what I can see, Algorand is announcing things basically daily, and they're growing and they're growing and they're growing. So that's another thing. Okay. So those are the things that I think you can be concerned about. I think just building a network from the ground up is hard. I think, are people really focused on decentralization like Algorand is? And maybe Ethereum 2.0 comes quicker before Algorand's able to have the reach that implants them into the center of this. But in general, I believe that Ethereum 2.0 and an Algorand can coexist. But okay, so those are my concerns. You have what used to be extraordinarily important in these different blockchains is layer one scalability. And then all of a sudden, that became very difficult. But you have the greatest minds in cryptography working on making layer one scalable on Algorand, right? And they're doing it. Currently, it's about 1,000 transactions per second. Blocks are created less than every 5 seconds. And it's almost immediate transaction finality, right, on Algorand. That's freaking incredible. But that's not even this year. They're doing something called block pipelining. And basically what that is, if I understand it correctly, is you start a new block before you finish the previous block. And through that, the transactions per second are going to reach 46,000 transactions per second. The block timing is going to go down, and transaction finality is going to stay basically the same or even be quicker. So that's pretty incredible. And, Ethereum 2.0 and a lot of other blockchains, they're using sharding to be able to scale. And Silvio Micali talks about that. And he says, and he goes in depth, and one of his main reasons is he doesn't like sharding is because with his Italian accent, it sounds like he's saying sharting. Sorry. I try to say that with a straight face. That's a really stupid joke. And if you're new to my channel and that's your first impression on my jokes, the jokes I think are better. Are they better, everybody? But as I understand it, when it comes to sharding, is when you create these little chains, right, to relieve congestion and scale transactions and all of that, what happens is you kind of have to, afterwards, you have to reconfigure it. And while it works, it also affects transaction finality. And it makes transaction finality times much slower. Is that correct? So if you know about that, put it in the comments. Let's talk about it. And I believe Silvio Micali's approach of block pipelining has no effect on transaction finality. That I would like to have a conversation in the comments about sharding versus this idea of block pipelining. And so that leads me to some of the tokenomics. And Look, if you're invested in Algorand, or if you've been watching the price action, you could be discouraged right now. You could be like, oh man, like I'm seeing Bitcoin's up to almost 42,000, and then there's Algorand just sitting in the mid 80s. Like, what the fuck? Why is it in this range of like 82 to 89? Like, why can't it break out of this? And that makes sense. So there was 10 billion Algo minted at the beginning, right? And there's the Algorand Foundation, and they're in a treasury. What's happening is Algorand is decentralizing its governance, and any Algo holder is able to take part in that, right? And then if you take part in the governance, you're going to earn rewards, Algo rewards. And currently what's happening is that anybody that owns Algo earns rewards. You know, commonly people hold it on Coinbase and you're earning 4%. If you move it off of Coinbase into the official Algo wallet or the My Algo wallet or whatever, you're earning closer to 6%. So what that does, just the participation rewards as it stands right now, that is a 6% inflation going into the supply, rolling all the time. So until we reach 10 billion, the supply is getting larger and larger and larger and larger. There's early node runners and investors that there was a deal in the beginning, and they reworked that deal to release rewards over a certain amount of time, and that has something to do with when the price reaches above a 30-day moving average, an all-time high 30-day moving average. It does put pressure down on the price, because when you reach a high, more Algo are released to these people that may or may not sell it, but it just makes the total supply in circulation larger. So Algorand isn't to hold and expect massive immediate gains, right? This is a long-term hold. That might not appeal to some people. What's important, if you're an Algo holder, this inflation doesn't affect you. You need to take part in the rewards. So if you're on Coinbase, get it into an official Algorand wallet so you receive the most amount of rewards. Coming up on Q4, you're going to be part of governance. You can be part of governance. Figure out how to be part of governance, which will make it very easy if you have an official Algorand wallet, right? When you have the official Algorand wallet, all you're going to have to do is you're going to have to send a 0 transaction to an address that they're going to give you. And in the notes of that transaction, you're going to say how many of your Algo you want to stake. And then you're going to lock up those Algo for the entirety of Q4. And you're going to have to make votes. You're going to have to take part in the voting. And the voting is going to be mainly concerning how the Treasury allocates the rewards, right? And we'll find out what that all is together. But my point is that there's going to be more and more rewards given out. If you're just holding your Algo on a Coinbase and getting 4%, you're missing out on all these rewards, but you're simultaneously kind of getting left behind, because as the Algo supplies inflates, you're not taking part in getting in the receiving of it. Does that make sense? So it's important to know what you own. Now, this is the deal, is that Algorand is a first mover in central bank digital currency, right? I've talked about in previous videos, you can watch it, about the Marshall Islands. It's a small place, but still, they're the first ones to actually make a central bank digital currency a reality. And they're going to continue, obviously, they're going to continue. There's been rumors of Turkey, South Korea, there's Canada, there's just everywhere, the United States. Silvio micali has worked at MIT since 1983. He has a relationship with good old Gary from the SEC. Like, come on, guys. Algorand is focused on decentralization, but they also have all the tools available. Exodus, the crypto wallet, is going public. They're using Algorand to create a security token for their stock. And there's a lot of heat on, what is that thing called? Synthetics and tokenizing stock, basically. And guess who isn't part of those problems. Algorand. Why? Because Algorand has thought through all of this. And Algorand is really kind of creating the bridge between decentralized finance and traditional finance. And the whole mission of Algorand is to democratize finance and create a system where everybody has access to the financial tools that only a chosen few have traditionally had. And so you have an opportunity right now where everybody's looking at everything else to get in at Algorand at like 82 cents or to add to your bag. Like if you're me, this is what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna tell you exactly what I'm gonna do, not financial advice. Especially right now, I'm adding Algo. And I am creating a bigger and bigger bag. And when it comes to October 1st, I am staking all of it. And I'm going to get as much yield as possible because as the circulating supply of Algo inflates, my bag inflates at no cost to myself, other than maybe some price pressure. But I'm not planning on selling it anyways because guess what? When they announce more and more projects, when they announce this country and that country, when they start tokenizing more stocks, when they start to really be the place, the price is naturally going to just climb. And there's actual scarcity to Algo. There's 10 billion of them. So that's obviously a lot, but it's still a lot less than a lot of other projects, right? So there is a scarcity element. And as you get closer, and then, all 10 billion should be fully distributed by 2030. So then imagine if you have the patience to hold and to create and to continue to get all of these rewards. And then past 2030, if Algorand is successful, you could have quite, especially on the young, if you're a younger person, and younger could even be 50, whatever, 60. Because 2030 sounds like a long time from now, but it's not that long. It's not that far away. But you could really be looking at a beautiful, beautiful little egg, depending on how much you put into it. So yeah, and there's things being built on it. You got algodex coming, right? Algodex is coming. That's an exciting, and we needed a decentralized exchange. You need a decentralized exchange on Algorand, and it's coming. You might be excited about Yieldly. And they are building bridges from chain to chain, and they have a lot of cool shit like no loss lotteries and all of this. And you may want to buy Yieldly, and you're like, holy shit, this is such a pain in the ass to try to buy Yieldly. Well, Algodex is going to solve that. When you think about just the specs, if you're a corporation looking, you're like, wow, they're about to be able to handle 46,000 transactions per second. It is they've completely solved the blockchain trilemma, where it is decentralized, is secure, and it's scalable. They're upgrading the Algorand virtual machine and smart contracts and making them easier to use and more sophisticated. They have co-chains, so if you're a private, for central bank digital currencies and all of that stuff, you can have your private permissioned network that can connect to the main chain and get all the security and never fork. 21 million wallets. It's been live for 2 years and it's never had any downtime after millions upon millions of blocks. You're decentralizing the governance. You're rewarded for holding. And as they grow and grow and grow, no matter that inflationary aspect of all the rewards that you're going to be receiving, the price is going to go up if they're successful. And that's my point, is that I think Algorand is going to be successful. What do you guys think? I talked for a long time. Look, you're probably going to hear from me more about Algorand. I will continue to talk about it. I'll talk about governance as it gets closer. I mean, part of me wants to not mention governance anymore because I don't want people to take part in it because I want the rewards to be higher. But then part of me realizes that my subscriber base isn't exactly daunting. So I don't believe so I'm going to talk about governance because if you're watching, I want all of us to make a little bit more money, right? So let's do it, guys. This is not financial advice. Buy a bag of Algo and let's do this all together. I'll walk you through it the whole entire way. So your first thing to do, this is your first project. If you want to go with me and go on this Algo journey, and let's check in 1 year. We'll start it today. Buy it on Coinbase. I would buy it on Coinbase Pro. But if you buy it on Coinbase, you'll pay a fee, and then at least you'll earn 4% while you're waiting to transfer it. but you're gonna buy it on Coinbase. And if you've already bought it and you're just holding on Coinbase, your first job is to, if you have an iPhone or if you have an Android, I guess it doesn't really matter. You go to your app store and you're gonna download the official Algorand wallet. That's all you gotta do. Download it. And then you're gonna figure out what can be scary, especially if you're new to crypto because you don't wanna screw anything up. You're gonna figure out how to transfer your Algorand from your Coinbase to your official wallet. Now, the next step, which I walk you through in another video for Ledger Nano X, watch that video, is to get a ledger. And you can use my link that I attach on that video, helps out the show. Now you're gonna buy a Ledger Nano X. You're gonna make sure that your algo is secure. These are the things. And then as governance comes closer, I'll do videos on how to take part in governance and I'll walk you through it. And I'm also available in the comments to walk you through any of this. And you can even email me at therecoopshow@gmail.com if you want. So that's what we're doing here. I think I'm not going to waver. And if I do waver for some reason, I will announce it. I will be fully transparent about it. And I'm constantly learning. I'm not fixed. I adjust. You know what I mean? So anyways, so if you want to go on this algo journey with me, buy bag. You can do it on Coinbase, Coinbase Pro. You can buy it on Binance. Just don't buy it on a Voyager or a Uphold or any of those places where you can't transfer it. Don't buy it there. Make sure where you're buying it, and Coinbase and Binance are perfectly fine, that you can transfer it off exchange. You want to do that, okay? All right. If you made it to the end of this video, I appreciate you. Thank you for supporting the show. If you have any questions, put it in the comments below. And if you like this video, like it and subscribe, all right? All right, everybody. Thanks for watching. Do your homework.